I know you love your wife, but do you accept your wife? Today, I want to talk to you about one thing you can do to change the course of your marriage now. Let's jump into the meat of how we as men can accept our wife. Today, I want to talk to you in the meat of our podcast about accepting your bride. As I've shared over and over and over again, as I shared in my book, Strong Men, Dangerous Times, I fell in love. We fell in love fast. And it was a very heated relationship. We got engaged after 6 months. We were married at 9. We did not know each other as well as we probably should have. And I got into the marriage and I instantly realized that I had made a mistake, that the angel I married was actually Satan incarnate, and that the dream man my wife married was actually a nightmare for her. And we laugh about that now, but we had a real rough first year of marriage. What I learned after 30 years of marriage is that I loved my wife, but I didn't accept my wife once I started to learn more about her. Let me explain what I mean by that. To accept something, by definition, is to receive it. It's to take it in. So the opposite of that would be to reject something, which is to keep it at arm's length. So I can receive, like a receiving a football, I can take it in, hold it, pull it in, or I can reject it and bat it down. So I had realized that I did not accept my wife. And a lot of this comes from Reggie Campbell's book, What Radical Husbands Do. It's a very, very short book, and he's got a section in his book about how to accept our wives. And so I would recommend that book. Reggie passed away a couple years ago, but the book is still outstanding, and it's an easy read. So we married 9 months after dating, and here are some failures that we made after 9 months of dating. Our premarital counseling was a joke. There was no curriculum. It was like our pastor was making stuff up as he went. Number 2, we really didn't know each other, which I've said already, the way we should have. We hadn't spent enough time with each other in a relationship. We'd been friends for years, but in an actual relationship, we didn't have a lot of time under our belts. And number 3, we never discussed life goals. We were just in love. We loved each other. We loved Jesus, and we thought, okay, that's enough. And it has been enough. But I wish we would have had more tools. And the fourth thing is we dated for such a short time, we never were able to see the other person's bad habits. And so that lack of time masked a lot of the bad habits. And so when we got married after the first couple of weeks, I started realizing, wow, there are some things here that, man, and I began to push the wife I loved, I began to push her away. And I realized, yes, I loved her. I loved her, but I didn't accept her. In fact, here's what I mean by that. I thought she would cook meals for me, and I realized she didn't cook. So I put my arms out. She doesn't cook, but she cleans, she washes all of our clothes, and she makes the bed every night. So she may not have done this, but she did all these other wonderful things. She had no career aspirations, like she didn't have a plan for a career, but she was committed to follow in my ministry wherever we went. She was committed to being the best mom on the planet, and she was committed to being a faithful servant of Jesus. She didn't read her Bible and pray every day. Lo and behold, she did not do her faith the way I did mine, but she worshiped God every day. She loves to worship to Christian music. She listened to Bible teaching constantly. She served others, and she was in constant fellowship. And the last thing is she was always fighting to change me. But it was because she believed in me becoming my best version, and she was committed to seeing that play out. Everything I did to push her away, on the other side of that, she had something that complimented her greatly, but by rejecting her, I was not able to accept the great things about her. So when I began to pull Shanna in with both my arms, pull her in to my world, accept her, receive her, and not reject her, it was a game changer. So here's what I did. I took a massive risk because I remember telling my mother after I'd been married about 6 months, saying, I made a mistake. I married a woman that I loved, and I now hate this woman. I made a mistake and I can't get out of it. Divorce has never been an option, never will be an option, never should be an option, because under the covenant of marriage, I do not believe in divorce except for extreme cases like sexual immorality. So I was stuck, and I remember thinking in my head, working through my life, I remember thinking, so for the next 70 years, I can live in a crappy marriage with a woman I hate, or I can somehow turn it around. And I realized that I had the power to change my marriage. I didn't blame my marriage on myself, but I realized I had the power, and that power was accepting my wife. I needed to somehow accept her. I needed to change my attitude towards her and win her back. And she was as committed in the marriage as I was, and she was committed to a crappy marriage too, but she was committed to the marriage in the covenant of Christ. And I know that sounds backwards, but that's where we were. We were committed to each other, but our marriage was struggling because I had rejected her. So I had to go back, and I said, what did I do here? What did I fall in love with? I fell in love with her commitment to Jesus. I fell in love with her physical beauty. I fell in love with her zeal for life. I fell in love with her beautiful heart. I fell in love with her extreme faithfulness. I fell in love with her mental strength. You know, those things have only grown in 30 years. Her commitment to Jesus, her physical beauty, her zeal for life, her beautiful heart, her faithfulness, and her mental strength. And so those are the things I fell in love with. So I had to go back and say, okay, why did I marry this guy in the first place? Well, these 6 things were 6 of the many reasons that I fell in love with her. And so I decided that I had to take a risk. If I needed to accept my wife, and that meant 3 things to me. And here's what I want to share with you guys today. It meant that I had to take a massive risk, and I decided I was going to outlove her and outserve her all of my life, and I was going to accept her regardless of, 1, my personal disappointment. I was going to accept her regardless of the things about her that disappointed me, the things about her that I was not expecting that were negative. I was going to love her and outserve her and accept her, even though there were certain things that disappointed me. That disappointment's a strong word, that I was not expecting in the relationship. Number 2, I was going to outlove and outserve her, and I was going to accept her regardless of her reciprocation. Now, I know that's a big one. I committed to loving her and accepting her whether or not she reciprocated or not. I was going to be Christ to her, to die for her, whether she reciprocated that or not. We live in a world of ledger people. It says, I will do this for you if you do this for me. It's a ledger thing. And I decided I would not be that person. And the third thing is I decided that I was going to accept her regardless of, wait for it, my personal happiness. So many marriages today end because of I deserve better or I deserve to be happy. So many people today say, well, are you happy? If you're not happy, get out. Marriage is about being happy. Nowhere in the Bible is marriage ever about being happy. It's just not there. Marriage is about being holy. Holy. So I made a decision. I was a 28-year-old dude. I'm going to, regardless of her reciprocation, regardless of my disappointment, regardless of my personal happiness, I was going to pour my life into her, and I was going to accept her and take a great risk. That great risk is biblical covenant. So I was going to move. I had allowed our marriage to slip into this contract mode of reciprocation, of ledger, of me guarding myself from you, me holding you at arm's distance. Instead, I chose to live in a marriage of covenant, which is to receive, to accept, and to go all in for my marriage, regardless of her reciprocation, regardless of my personal disappointments, and regardless of my personal happiness. Now, I know this for some of you sounds radical, but it was a game changer. And let's be honest, guys, marriage is an all or nothing thing. It's all in or not. And so I'm asking you guys to go all in and see what happens when you choose to accept your bride in spite of herself. And hopefully she'll accept you in spite of your darn self. Men, if this podcast today has helped you, please consider partnering with us with a monthly or a one-time donation. You can do that at meninthearena.org/donate. Every dollar helps. And remember, when a man gets it, everyone wins. So until next time, guys, feel the wet sand on the arena floor. Hear the deafening roar of the crowd. Taste the sweetness of victory. Smell the stench of battle. Get in the game, get dirty, grind it out, and accept your bride.